In today's video, we're going to be talking about behavioral interview questions, and it's really important to answer most of the questions that you'll be receiving are really looking for behavioral type answers, examples of when you worked through a problem and had a solution. And ideally, the answers would be similar to something that's similar to their role, to the one that you're interviewing for. So at LAK, like to call it challenge, action, result. It's otherwise known as STAR, situation, task, action, result. Either way, you're really describing the challenge and the situation that occurred, and then what the action was that you were beginning to do to handle the problem, and also how you might have collaborated with others. And then the result, the outcome or the result impact of your work. And it's really helpful when you talk about the challenge and the result to speak of it in terms of any kind of metrics, any kind of dollar figure that you can show the impact of. Here was the scenario with this situation and this metric, and then after we were done, I was able to help secure XYZ, metric or dollar figure. If you don't have an example like that, that's okay. But when you do, I would encourage you to use it. The behavioral questions, these are just some examples. The common themes of any interview are going to be things like difficult decisions, teamwork, difficult personalities, stress, and we'll be covering more of those in other videos. But for now, here's some examples. Tell me about a difficult work situation and how you overcame it. Tell me about a time you had to manage a particularly heavy workload. How did you handle it? Describe a time when you had to work with someone whose personality or work style was very different from yours. Tell me about a time you were tasked with solving a complex problem with little direction from your supervisor. How did you go about solving the problem? And we all occasionally must work with difficult people. When was the last time you had to do that, and how did you manage it? Again, using that challenge, action, result model to work through your answers and prepare some of these themes ahead of time so that when asked something similar, you can think back to certain examples that you've been ready to talk about. There's also, the possibility that you're going to get some questions that have to do with some trends like the work from home, hybrid, remote, vaccinations, and then we'll cover the what is your work style. So, starting, with what are your thoughts and preferences regarding on-site and work from home opportunities? How do you structure your work schedule to maintain focus? What do you find to be your greatest struggle when working remotely? How do you keep your team engaged and connected when working remotely? Give me an example of a team project with a challenging deadline that you worked on as a member of a distributed virtual team. And how do you maintain work-life balance? And lastly, how would your boss, colleague, or individuals that worked with you, how would they describe you? It's always good to give, 2 or 3 descriptors, but be ready to just very succinctly and briefly back that up. So people would describe me as, and then, say, for instance, hardworking, for example, and then you can give an example of how you work with that individual, particularly if you were going to talk about who it was, and a display of the hard work. And reach out to your coach if you have any questions.